player sample the third. The section coaches and pros, the X's and O's. This is the best what we do, what we know. So let's go. Yo, what up? Y'all see it on the chest. Y'all see it on the chest. Yeah, y'all see it on the chest. Pitt. Let's go, Pitt. One more time for Pitt. I told y'all. I went out on a limb. And I called that. I went out on a limb and I called that. Because I had a feeling. I know. And it's not even because I had a feeling. It's not. I knew that when I sit here and I do my numbers, I told myself just 2 weeks ago, I told us and I said, we know better. Us out here who make sports content that has some integrity about ourselves, and we feel we owe to our audience, the best ability that we possibly can. I knew. When I did my research on this team and I looked at these teams and I watched these teams film and I said, Pittsburgh is inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get out of that Pitt Panthers team week in and week out. If they play consistent, they are this good. When you're scoring 40 points in college football, that is a dangerous team. Now, how good is that defense? That defense, that weak point on that defense is pass. You ain't running on them linebackers. Those linebackers are very athletic. They can tackle well. Even the DBs can tackle well. Now, when it comes to pass, you can pass on Pitt all day. You seen that yesterday, but that's not at all surprising. That's exactly how Louisville came back on them. They threw the ball on them. Pitt has had trouble with stopping the pass. Therefore, once I get up into what I'm going to talk about, but running the ball on them, you're going to have a long day running the ball on them. And that is their strong point. There was even times yesterday where Hayes King is just an escape artist. But I don't want to take anything away from Georgia Tech in the way that they came back in this football game, the way that Georgia Tech played this football game. This is a very good Georgia Tech team. Do not get it twisted. This is a very good Georgia Tech team. But with Randy Bates, defensive coordinator, dialed up on that goal line, when Lovelace, that had problems with run fitting last week, came up and dropped back into coverage perfectly, Hayes King didn't even see him. So Randy Bates dialed that up perfectly. Now, I thought they would play Notre Dame a lot better, to be honest, because this team has athletic linebackers. That was a linebacker, Lovelace, that took that pick six back. That's not a... You know what I mean? That wasn't a DB. Just for everybody out there to know. Yeah, Lovelace, that's a linebacker. Lewis is a linebacker. Cameron Lindsay, those are linebackers. Pitt has very athletic linebackers, and they got some quick defensive linemen. So Randy Bates, the defensive coordinator over there at Pitt, he dialed that up perfectly when they got that pick six back in the game. But Pitt, they play so inconsistent throughout this season and has come back to bite them. So Pat Narduzzi's team, it has come back to bite Pat Narduzzi at times throughout the season on how they played. But that team, I still think that team got another year. I think Desmond Reed, he's a senior this year. To correct me if I'm wrong, there's a lot of players that I look into, but this team has still got another year and another go at it. That's a true freshman quarterback that played against Georgia Tech last night. That's a true freshman quarterback. They made that change earlier in this season, and that team just responded differently. The wide receivers, the passing game has opened up tremendously. It just has. And I'm not over exaggerating when I'm using my words. It is exactly what happened. But I seen and I called it and I said, look, I said, you know what? Georgia Tech might get this. I said, no, 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 no. I'm a god. I'm a god on the limb. And I'm gonna say this. I'm going the upset. Pitt's going to get the upset. Now, was I bugging on the Florida pick? Absolutely. But we'll get into that in later. But Pitt, yeah, they absolutely got into that game and they just dominated that game. They went on cruise control. Georgia Tech's defense did a phenomenal job with coming back and being able to stop them. They just really did. They came back and they did a phenomenal job with shutting them down in the second half of that ball game. It was a pick six and they got in the end zone with Turner running the ball. Turner broke one up the gut, got out of there. That's a true freshman running back. So these teams are getting younger, but these younger athletes that are coming in college, a lot of them are underpaid, not this big NIL money that they're getting, and they're overperforming. Like the guys who come in, these true freshmen that come in that you expect to start, not all of them are living up to the potential, the NIL dollars that they're getting paid. But these freshmen that come in that's not making a lot of money, these guys are delivering at a high clip for these teams. And I just got to give it up to Pitt, man, because they played a phenomenal job. But Georgia Tech, they also came out there. So the Yellow Jackets fans out there, man, that was a phenomenal. It was a great game. It was a good game. Regardless of the score and the way that the outcome and the way that it looked, Georgia Tech came all the way back. They fought back. Hayes King, my respect for Hayes King. Salute to Hayes King because he is really the truth. And if he's not and regardless of I know this being a quarterback driven trophy, but Hayes King got to be up for what a Davey O'Brien, the best quarterback or whatever for college football. He has to be he has to be the top candidate for that, if not the MVP, but the Heisman Trophy. He has to be because Hayes King, he is special, man. He is really special. What he was able to do with that Randy Bates defense over there at Pitt and make those athletic linebackers just look lost at times. Like it was just a phenomenal job. And they got some very athletic defensive linemen too. As you've seen, there was times that those defensive linemen was running down Hayes King in the game. And that's what you want. You can't ask for too much more, right? You shouldn't ask for too much more in the game, but that's just what it is, right? And man, but it was just a great game, man, all through, man. It was a great Saturday, another great Saturday of college football in the books. But yes, I really like what I seen out of this team moving forward. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of that up out of Pitt, man. Because Pitt does have Miami up next week. They still are in the playoff race, but I don't really think that let me get this. Let me say this right. Pitt's weak area is the passing, right? Passing, they've been giving up. I think it was almost 237 yards a game. That was a couple of games ago that I had actually said that. So those metrics change week in, week out. They might change a yard or two, but it's somewhere around that where they're averaging that per game, giving up that per game. And Malachi Tony right now is, I think he's got to be one of the best. You can argue that he's the best receiver in college football, but he's definitely one of the best receivers in college football. You cannot take that away from Malachi Tony. You cannot do that. I don't know. I don't care who you are, wherever you at. You can't take that from Malachi Tony and say that he's not one of the best receivers in college football, because he is. And now Pitt has to face a Miami team who had trouble running the ball last week against a Virginia Tech ACC opponent. Pitt possibly can give Miami trouble running the ball, but when it comes to those receivers at Miami, that's what Pitt has to face this upcoming week, right? And it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to see that go down. But this team has been really inconsistent. Now, I will say this, and I know it's kind of like hedging your bet or hedging a pick, but I'll get into my picks later because I'm sure they're in the top 25. So I will be talking about this game. So I really don't want to get into my pick, but they do have that Miami team up next week. And yeah, it was just a great job overall. But before I kind of get up into our college football recap throughout the weekend, shout out to Pitt and Georgia Tech, man. But shout out to Pitt for getting that dub, man, showing up on the road at Georgia Tech after you just got humiliated at home, and to be able to turn that around is fantastic. Hopefully they can keep it up. But moving on to